Lush, and I'm here inside the Hub Culture studio. It's Davos 2018. It's Friday. Tiffany Yu, you're the founder of Diversability. Now, first time at Davos. How's it going?
It has been incredible here. This is the first year that the forum has actually had a series on disability inclusion. So I'm excited to see that this topic is getting some space on the formal agenda.
So in the UK, I know there's an amazing woman called Carolyn Casey who's done some work estimating that if we just included 5% of the people with disabilities or different abilities, however you want to term it, in the UK alone, 5% of those people into national GDP numbers, we would increase GDP by 23 billion. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? So what are we missing out in the globe, in the world, by not including people with disabilities?
Right. So there's a larger statistic, which is there are 1 billion people in the world who live with disabilities. That is on par with the size of China. It is a huge population, almost 1 in 5 people. If you think about it, 1 in 5 people are being forgotten. They're being left behind. They're being separated. And we have spending power, like that statistic you just gave us. What we're trying to do is whenever we think about disability, we think about it in terms of functionality rather than the human. And because we think about it in functionality, we see someone with a disability and we judge their abilities and skills rather than what they can actually add. So I think that's what we're missing.
How do you, I know you have a focus on women as well. Why do you focus on women with disabilities as opposed to just people with disabilities?
So I think what's interesting about disability is we tend to fragment our identities, but intersectionality is so important. Me and you being women is a part of how we see ourselves. Being Asian, being American is also another part. I can't point and say, that happened because I have a disability. That happened because I'm a woman. It happened because all of these together created this really unique experience for me. So another thing that we're trying to do is really celebrate this idea that disability is just one aspect of how multidimensional we are.
What's the world you want to see?
My ultimate vision is I would love for my company Diversability not to exist. Really what we aim to do right now is we want to get people at the table who wouldn't normally show up to the table to have these uncomfortable conversations around disability. My vision, my dream, is that this company doesn't need to exist because disability is so ingrained into our culture, into our society, and is so included that you have a disability? Cool. I'm a woman? Great. None of these things are things that we need to pinpoint out and talk about because they're just who we are.
It's a great dream. The structural reality is hard, right? So if I remember a couple years ago, I interviewed an incredible guy whose name is Mark, and I can't remember his last name, but he he originally went blind, then he fell off a climbing wall, and then became a paraplegic. I interviewed him outside because it's hard. We could actually get him into this studio, but at the time, that we couldn't get him up the stairs. Now, this is an issue for businesses, etc., and of course we need to change. But of course this requires structural change and it requires innovation, and that takes time and money.
Yeah.
So what's the message? What's your answer?
Yeah, so there are 3 common mindsets for how we normally view disability. The one you're mentioning right now is what's called the social model, which is the only reason that disability really exists is that our environment and our social perceptions and attitudes are what creates disability, right? So if we look at guides of universal design, inclusive design, if we restructure this physical infrastructure in a way where there are ramps or there are dots in the ground so someone who has low vision or is blind can navigate, then disability doesn't really exist, right? So we need to really change the way that we design experiences, that we design infrastructure, that we design events.
Tiffany, thank you very much for stopping by the Hub Culture Davos studio, and I'm Edie Lush. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great to meet you.
Thanks for coming in.